Welcome to bringing Jesus back into focus. He was very blurry for a while. When Emperor Constantine in 312 AD went and killed in the battle to become Emperor of Rome, he said Jesus and the God of Jesus inspired him to win the battle and kill the rival's army. Now, the trouble is, you see, Jesus doesn't kill anyone, and the loving spiritual creator of Jesus can't kill anyone either, because the divine loving source that Jesus was at one with is a pure source and a pure consciousness and a pure world of only love. That's why he said, this loving spiritual creator that I'm at one with and have become at one with, and I'm an enlightened spiritual child, he said her love is like the sun that shines on the good and the evil. Her love is like the rain that shines, her love is like the rain that falls on the just and the unjust. She's kind to the ungrateful and even to the evil. He said, unless your love is as perfect as this love while you're here in this dangerous earth world, you won't get into the heavenly world, which is only love. So Jesus' teachings are very simple. Heaven, the heavenly spiritual dimension, and the heavenly world and the heavenly universe, which is a different dimension, a different substance, you've got to remember that. Your spiritual body leaves at death. Jesus taught that. And your body of flesh, he said, just feed it to the vultures. It's in the Gospels. He said it. They're his words. I'm a Christian. I'm not a Jewish Christian. I've never been a Jewish Christian. I'm not influenced by the Jewish religion. The book of Revelations, rip it out and burn it. It's a load of rubbish. It's the biggest it's the most slanderous document I've ever seen written about Jesus and the beautiful, loving, spiritual creator of Jesus. Jesus and the loving God of Jesus, loving spiritual creator, they can't hurt you. You can hurt yourself. You can reap what you sow, but they can't. So in recent years, I left the Jewish Christian Catholic Church that I was born into when I was 16 because they were teaching that Yahweh is the same God as Jesus. Well, that's impossible. Yahweh goes and commits genocide at Jericho and kills every man, woman and little child. Well, that's Jesus doesn't go around killing little children. That's not the God of Jesus. That's another God. That's the war God. And that's why Jesus said, you are children of your father Satan. You're worshipping a war God. Stop doing it. They had a war God called Yahweh. They had a God of love, but they called that God of love Yahweh. They called their war God by the same name as their God of love. They're two different gods, black, white. So I never bothered about it. I studied Buddhist teachings and a lot of other spiritual teachings when I was in my teens and things. And then I really loved spiritual thinking. But I'm only interested in the pacifist, non-violent teachings of people like Jesus and Buddha. They both said you've got to clean your mind out of all the dirt in it, and then you'll have what's called the clear light mind experience, which is your true spiritual identity that you will have in heaven. But you've got to experience it now to the greatest degree that you can. So we mustn't join armies, navies or air forces. That's the first thing. If you're a Christian, we're pacifists. We are not involved in war in any way whatsoever unless you wish to be a doctor or a nurse. Then you can join the army, the air force and navy, but you do not carry a gun. That's the only way we can be involved in those satanic organizations. And they're all satanic in every country in all the world because they're training children to kill other children of God. So we don't get involved in that. And we believe our spirit doesn't die, but leaves our body of flesh, which does die, and returns to the earth and feed it to the vultures. As Jesus said, there's nothing in it. So we have a deep belief, the true Christians, the pacifist Christians. There's only a few of us left in the world from the original church. I'm one of them. Certainly the Amish and the Quakers, the Assyrian Christians, they're pacifists. The Assyrian Christians, I think, are perhaps the closest. They understand the book of Revelation should be ripped out, and they also know that the Jewish God's a different God to the God of Jesus. But all the other Jewish Christian churches in the world, including the Catholic Church, they're still teaching that these two gods that the Jews worship is only one God, and that's the God of Jesus. So I had to, I thought, I better look into this, and why has it all gone wrong? So I wrote the Gospels of Jesus Unplugged. When I say I wrote it, they are the Gospels, and I've just done a much better translation of them, and I'm hoping it will help Christians see from a Christian's viewpoint, because I'm not a Jewish Christian. So I don't have any of the poison of the Jewish religion in me at all. I just see him as love and non-violence. And as he said to Philip at the Last Supper, if you see me, Philip, you see God. I am a child of love and non-violence, Philip. God is a spiritual being of love and non-violence. So it can't be the God of Jesus and Jesus coming back on the clouds in Revelation, which is the book of Daniel anyway, from the old Jewish religion. It shouldn't be even in the New Testament. It's an Old Testament book. Get it out of there. It can't be them coming back to cause destruction and murder and famine and disease. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious that it's stunning that sort of evil book is right there in the New Testament. That is an apocalyptic Jew who wrote that to destroy who Jesus was. So these are the Gospels, and I'm reading it. Gospels of Jesus Unplugged, available around the world. We're up to John the Baptist. I'll just read the back cover and I'll read the next chapter, which I think is chapter 8, I think. Jesus taught we can all experience an inner spiritual awakening if we search for it. He called this the treasure hidden in the field of earth or flesh. This is our eternal spiritual identity, empowered only by the loving spiritual life force of our loving spiritual Creator. Our bodies of flesh are only temporary and empowered by earthly things, and all flesh dies. Only our spiritual body and soul mind of love lives on to come into the presence of our loving Creator to reap as we have sown. His teachings and spiritual way of love and non-violence can help awaken us all into a new spiritual life here on earth, leading us to the heavenly spiritual world of love after death. Jesus taught we all have two different bodies with us in one, and he said that the spiritual body, being eternal, is the most important to be healthy and well in spirit. He provides us with the spiritual instructions to follow and become at one with, to be awakened and transformed into spiritual children of light of our loving spiritual Creator in heaven. We then help awaken other children to become spiritual and bring peace and heavenly love to earth for all in need. These translations of the Gospels of Jesus remove the Jewish overlays and distortions placed over the universal teachings of Jesus and spiritual way of non-violence and love. Our mortal minds change from being dualistic into singular minds viewing all things through the eye of love. Jesus said, if your eye is single, you will be filled with light, but if dualistic and divided, you will be filled with darkness. Jesus said not to mix his new spiritual way of understanding our loving Creator with the Old Testament dualistic God of the Jews, or you will lose the understanding of the one true, loving spiritual Creator of our spiritual lives, and not realize who you really are as her spiritual children of only love on earth. These Gospels help focus his message of the loving way to reach the heavenly spiritual world from earth after you die. So we're up to John the Baptist chapter. What I've done is I've just brought the general dialogue of what happened to John the Baptist after he baptized Jesus. And I've just brought it into one chapter just to consolidate John's life in a simple chapter. So we'll read that now. John the Baptist, witness of Jesus. Pardon me. John 3:22 to 36. Jesus and his disciples then came into the land of Judea, and he remained there with them and baptized children there. And John the Baptist was also baptizing children in Anion and Salim, because there was much water there. And some of John's disciples had a dispute with the Jews about ritual purification, so they went to John and said, Teacher, Jesus, who was with you beyond Jordan, about whom you have testified as being a child of the loving spiritual Creator on earth, is also baptizing, and everyone is going to him. And John answered, saying, A human can receive nothing unless it has been given to them from heaven. You have heard me tell you that I am not the Messiah, but have been sent before him. He who joins as one with the bride is the bridegroom, while the friend of the bridegroom, standing beside him hearing his words, greatly rejoices because of the words of the bridegroom. Therefore my joy is full through hearing his words and being blessed by them. He must become greater, while I become less. He who is at one with the spiritual heavenly world above is above all on earth. He who is of the earth is earthly, and only speaks of earthly things. He who is at one with heaven is above all. And what he has come to know and understand, he reports and shares freely with everyone. But no one receives his testimony. But anyone who does receive his testimony is sealed with our Creator's love and truth. For he who is at one with the loving Creator speaks the words of her and her loving Creator, and our loving Creator gives the Spirit fully to all who wish to receive it. The loving spiritual Creator loves all of her children, giving all things into their hands. He who follows the spiritual way of the child of the loving Creator and becomes at one with it will have life everlasting. But he who does not believe in the spiritual way of our loving Creator and become at one with it will not experience full spiritual life, but shall remain captured by physical desires and the restraints of the material world. We have to remember heaven's a spiritual world, a different dimension, but you've got a spiritual body with you right now. That's what Jesus and Buddha taught as well. Different language, but the same thing. You have a beautiful spiritual body with you that's perfect, but you've got to become at one with love now for it to awaken. Then you'll be ready to die and pass through the death experience. And your spiritual body will be alive and well because you were loving and non-violent while you're here in the violent earth world. Then you go to the world of love. Children who are here, who are murdering and killing like the satanic armies of the world are at the moment, they can't get into heaven when they die. They'll go into a really terrifying experience, undergoing all the deaths that they caused, because they worship the satanic death war god, so they will go to another place. They can't enter heaven, they can't hurt anyone anymore. John the Baptist in prison, Matthew 11, 1-19. Herod seized John and put him in prison because John had said it was not lawful for Herod to take his brother's wife, Herodias, and for criticizing the evil things he had done. When John heard of the works Jesus was doing, he sent two of his disciples to ask him, "Are you the coming one, or do we look for another?" Jesus answered them, saying, "Go and tell John the things which you hear and see. The blind receive sight, the crippled walk, the lepers are made clean, the deaf hear. Those who are dead to their spirit are awoken and raised up, and the materially poor have the good spiritual news given to them. And blessed is he who is not enticed into sin because of following me and my spiritual way." Jesus then said to the crowd about John, "What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? But what did you go out to see? A man clothed in soft garments? Behold, those who wear soft garments and live in luxury are in kings' houses. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and one much more than a prophet. Truly I say to you, there has not risen amongst those born of women one who is greater than John the Baptist. Yet the least in the spiritual kingdom of heaven is greater than he." Heaven's the place to be, everyone. Thomas 46, Jesus said, "No one is much greater than John the Baptist. Yet I say to you, that whoever becomes like a little child will know the heavenly spiritual world and will become greater than John. And from the days of John the Baptist and henceforth the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it away from you by force. But what shall I liken this generation to? It is like children sitting in the town square calling to their companions, saying, 'We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We were deeply grieved about what you were doing, but you saw no reason to lament. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they said, he has a demon in him. While the child of humanity came eating and drinking, and they say he is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is exhibited and declared by her children." It's always beautiful the way Jesus reminds us we've got to become like little children again. Not grown-up ego adults, egotistical adults, arrogant adults. We have to become like little children, trusting, loving, innocent in the sense of open to trust. I know it's difficult in this dangerous earth world where there's so many children that have become satanically evil. It is difficult, but we nonetheless have to maintain that beautiful childlike nature within us. It must be alive and well, and we must live out of it to the best of our ability before our body of flesh dies, so we can pass through the death experience and have a spiritual body and a spiritual mind of love that's full of love from our life that we've led here on earth, and that will propel us through to heaven. So our spiritual body, our mind won't die, our spiritual mind will be there. If we've been loving here, that's your spiritual mind. So that's the thing to do. John the Baptist is beheaded by Herod. Mark 6:14-29. The governor Herod heard reports about Jesus and thought it was John the Baptist, whom he had beheaded, and who must have risen from the dead to have such wondrous powers. Herod had imprisoned John for publicly criticizing him about marrying Herodias, his brother's wife. And Herodias wanted him executed, but Herod feared the people because they thought he was a prophet from God. Herod himself thought John was a just and holy man and listened to him. But after the daughter of Herodias performed a beautiful dance before Herod during his birthday celebration, he promised her anything she desired. So her mother told her to ask for John's head on a platter. Although Herod was remorseful, he kept his word and had John beheaded as she requested. Then his disciples came and took away the body and buried it and went and told Jesus. When Jesus heard this news, he and the disciples departed from where he was by boat to a place in the countryside to be by themselves. Author. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was the cousin of the mother of John the Baptist and did visit her. By looking at the teachings of John the Baptist and how similar they are to those of Jesus, we have to conclude that they grew up often meeting each other on visits. It is probable that as they matured, they both had a deep sense of spiritual awakening to find the one true loving spiritual creator and discussed this with each other. John may have been the one who understood the new spiritual way that Jesus taught more than anyone else. This would account for Jesus being so despondent at the news of John's death. The one who he originally confided in and shared his new way of spiritual awakening and understanding with before teaching it to others. Our loving Creator is only love. We must become the spiritual children of only love on earth. So John the Baptist, his beautiful dialogue, we unfortunately only have a small amount of it, but we can clearly see in the small amount that we have, where it says, if you have 2 tunics and that man has none, give him one of your tunics. And if you have food and that man has none, give him some food. This is the teaching of Jesus. This comes forth from the heavenly spiritual world to awaken me to become ready to go to this other dimension after my body of flesh dies. And my physical body is nearly dying every day from a deadly neurotoxic fungal infection that's come into it. I've had a career in gardening. I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and we've got some of the worst doctors in the world regarding fungal and yeast disease in bodies, and the worst labs in the world, and they've left me to die in agony. And I feel sorry for them because they're so incompetent and negligent, and also they have abandoned me to die. And yet, because of Jesus, I just feel sorry for them. I don't hate them. I just feel so sorry for them because they had no love for me at all. And I had so much evidence that all I can do is just feel sorry for them, that they wouldn't help me. So this is the teachings of Jesus. I have to forgive. It's one of his primary teachings. Forgive those who hurt you or persecute you. And I have been persecuted. Here in Melbourne, doctors have been threatened, GPs, for helping me too much by other people who want to see me dead. Because I've got so much evidence that these labs are incompetent and negligent in Melbourne, hospitals and the specialists I saw, that they want all the evidence to be buried with me. It's quite shocking, but that is exactly what's happening. Now, how do you deal with that? The poison in the body from the fungus is neurotoxic to the brain, and it's agony. all they've done is help me move closer in towards heaven. I've had to focus on heaven and this beautiful, loving, spiritual creator of Jesus, who is only love, because that's all I've ever known him as. Since I was a little child, Jesus is love and non-violence. John the Baptist was teaching the similar sort of thing, and then Herod gets him. Okay, knocks him out of the way. Jesus knew it wouldn't be long before they'd kill him. That's why he allowed them to kill his body of flesh so openly and publicly on display. But it's his teachings, you see. It's all about his words. So we become children of love and non-violence here in a violent world, which doesn't seem to make sense. They're going to hurt my body of flesh. What does Jesus say? Don't worry about those who can kill your body of flesh. Worry about sin that can destroy your spiritual life. That's the thing to be frightened of. He says it over and over and over. You've got two bodies. One's spiritual, one's flesh. The flesh dies, feed it to the vultures. One is spiritual and it's going to leave your body at death, and you have to be ready. So we have to come to heaven, face heaven in our spiritual body. Forgive those who hurt us, like I've had to do. I've even had friends insult me and abuse me while I've been sick. I never thought that would happen to me, but it has. Abandon me, ridicule me, judge me, even condemn me. It's been extraordinary. It's as if Satan's managed to turn like all the support you should have in this earth world against me. But everything that Satan did in that way, this or satanic dark force, right? A satanic way of consciousness. When you hate someone and want to see something ill happen to them, you've become a satanic identity, false identity. You're not in your true identity as a loving child. You've moved out of it and you've created a false identity. That's what all the murdering armies in the world are now. They're satanic false identities, you see. They're not in their true spiritual identity of love, are they? They've left it. So they're covered in the shadow. They're in the shadow figure. So what's happened is, though, by being abandoned like that, so just right across the board, just except for one or two people, it's left me with only one option: heaven. Get ready to die. And I've done this work for Jesus and the loving spiritual creator because for the last few years I investigated what was going on in all the Jewish Christian churches, because I'd left the Jewish Christian church. I wasn't interested in the Jewish religion. In the book of Revelation, rip it out and burn it. If you think that is Jesus coming on the clouds, I'm telling you now, you don't even know Jesus. I don't know who you're thinking of. Satan, maybe. Maybe you're worshipping Satan. But that is not Jesus. That's not my friend Jesus. I'm telling you that right now. He won't do those things. He won't instigate those things. He has no part in those things. Heaven doesn't do those things. No, that doesn't happen in heaven. Why do you think they would make it happen here? We have to go to heaven, get out of this world of evil and suffering. But in the process, we bring heaven's love to earth by becoming spiritual now. Flesh only gives birth to flesh. Spirit only gives birth to spirit. Marvel not, Jesus said, you've got to be born again now into your spiritual body from above. That means receiving the spiritual loving life force that opens up your spiritual mind into the clear light mind experience that both Jesus and Buddha had. So whatever happens to you in life, if people hurt you and persecute you or leave you to die like they've done here in Melbourne, Australia, and in agony with this, it's an infection, and there is intravenous antifungal medication they're refusing to give me because I've got too much evidence that they're incompetent. Okay, I get that. It's evil, but I get it. They're like the white coat mafia, they call the specialists. And I'm sorry for them. It's just disgraceful. But okay, I'm just getting ready to go to at least be in the presence of heaven. I'm not going to say go into heaven. I'm not that presumptuous. But I will be in the presence of the loving spiritual life force that created my spiritual body and my soul mind of love. I will be in her presence. And she is pure love. God is pure love. God is a spirit, Jesus said, beyond gender. God has no gender. I say she. because it's females tend to be more loving than the rock-ape males like Putin, Netanyahu, Trump, who murder and slaughter tens and tens of thousands of children. So we don't want to have anything to do with those satanic children because they're all satanic. So we stay clear of them. So become spiritual as Jesus gives the instructions. They're beautiful instructions. Just follow them. Wake up. It's a dangerous world here. You've got to commit to death, really. You've got to commit to die. But the way you commit is by becoming a spiritual child of love and non-violence now, before death. Death is going to happen anyway. Has to happen. You've got to pass through the door of death. And it may be very painful, agonizing, excruciating. This fungal infection in my body is highly neurotoxic to the brain, and it's like meningitis all day and night now. But I deal with it by just thinking about heaven and doing this work on YouTube and writing these books, because I did not like the way people were slandering Jesus. In some of these churches, they were just synagogues. They said they're Christian churches, followers of Jesus. They were Jewish. They just followed Yahweh. They loved studying the old Jewish religion, and then they'd leapfrog over Jesus and study the book of Revelations, and they're waiting for him to come back. They'll be saved. No one else will. I just couldn't believe it. They were Jews. They didn't even know it. They're worshipping the Jewish two-headed God. They didn't even know that. They didn't even know that there's only a one loving spiritual creator who can't hurt anyone. They didn't even know that. And they certainly didn't know that that's not Jesus coming back on the clouds. That's a satanic war god. I was shocked. So that's why I did these books. And I'm just so glad I did, because, because I can nearly die every day, I'm still praying for a miraculous healing, don't get me wrong. And if any Christians manage to watch this around the world and understand what I'm saying, that Jesus is only love, I would ask you to pray for me. I believe in prayer, and I've had miracles in my life to help me keep going. There's no doubt about that at all. I should share them on a video. There have been signs and wonders, we call them. And it's been wonderful. But the healing in my body hasn't happened yet. For some reason, heaven's having a bit of trouble. The loving spiritual creator and Jesus, just whatever it is, I'm eating well and all the rest of it, and I'm following the signs they've given me on what natural medicines to take, because I'm not allowed, the proper medication from the doctors. They refuse it. But all the natural things that they've guided me to take are helping to sustain my body of flesh, but we haven't yet healed it. But I'm hoping soon I will. And then I'll get on with better work than what I'm doing here. This is just the preliminary work, this book, The Gospels of Jesus Unplugged. And the Teachings of Jesus Unplugged is also available now. And but I did this because they were slandering him. I've only ever known him as love and non-violence. And yet these children were saying he's going to come back and he's going to open a seal, and that'll cause armies to go to war and kill each other. Jesus, who said love your enemies, is going to instigate armies to kill each other. The man who said love your enemies is going to open a seal in heaven to cause armies to go and kill each other. That is the most disgusting, filthy thing I've ever heard spoken about Jesus, and it's in the book of Revelation. And these Jewish Christian churches bloody teach that to children. It's disgusting. And then there are angels coming, and they're going to put sicknesses on children's bodies with Jesus there. Oh yeah, he okays that too. Jesus, who healed every single sickness of every child he ever met, is now there saying, yep, go ahead, put sicknesses on all those children's bodies. Again, stinking, filthy slander about my friend, my lifetime friend. You Jewish Christians, the damage you're doing to Jesus and the loving Creator is unbelievable. And it's just disgusting. Now, I get emotional about it. It would be like someone slandering my mother. One of the most beautiful souls that ever walked on the earth. someone said, oh yeah, she's going to come back and cause wars and put sickness on children's bodies, I'd say, who the hell are you to say that about my mother? Jesus has saved my life. He saved it because his teachings were so beautiful that they went straight in when I was young. But I had to leave the Jewish Christian Catholic Church because they were teaching lies, Jewish stuff. I'm not a Jew. I left and went to Buddha's teachings and the monks. And they absolutely, Buddhist is a pacifist. I said, yeah, Jesus is too, but they're teaching this other rubbish. And Buddha, of course, the same teaching. So I am here defending Jesus and this beautiful spiritual lover, loving creator of a spiritual universe and spiritual world. Jesus said every child on earth has a spiritual body. Not just Christians, but every child. But it's only empowered by about 7 major things. Love, compassion, non-violence, forgiveness, equanimity, generosity, and reach out and help those who have fallen down, help lift them up, help lift them up. Love, compassion, forgiveness, non-violence, equanimity, treat everyone the same. Generosity, don't be a greedy pig or filthy rich person. Generosity, share. He who has 2 tunics, give one to him who has none. He who has food, give some to him who has none. The filthy rich can't get into heaven. So this is the message of Jesus. Become spiritual now, because this world is evil. Death exists here. It does not exist in heaven. Sickness, disease. And then you've got the children who become satanic, false identities. Putin and the Russian army, the Jew, Netanyahu and the Jewish army, Hamas and their army, Iran and their army, Ukraine and their army. Murder, kill, death, the war god. We must never do that. You can't get in. None of those children can enter heaven according to Jesus and Buddha. It's impossible. They've cut themselves off now. They can repent while they're still breathing. Once their body of flesh dies, that's it. They reap what they sowed. So anyway, as I say, I get very emotional that Jesus has actually taught me how to try to fight to be forgiving. It's been hard to forgive these medical people in Melbourne because they're just shocking. I've never met people as just pathetic as these people. Arrogant, incompetent, negligent. They treat you like a bit of dirt. Not all of them. One of them was good out of 20. One of them. 1 out of 20. So, and the GPs who were threatened were good. The GPs were really threatened. And they tried to save my life. They gave me all the tablets they could. So we have to forgive these children who are without love. They've become like robots or computers or something. Devoid of love. I don't know. I call them systemized children. They're part of the system now, whatever that is. It's nothing to do with your human spiritual life of love. And someone comes to you needing help and you simply help them. Find out what's wrong and investigate and do all you can to help that child. Believe them to start with and then investigate. And if you don't get an answer the first time, the child's still sick, well, do another check. There must be something there. So it's a sort of thing we have to do as spiritual children. We have to love. So, these books are really, that I've written, I'm really pleased I've done them, because I don't know of many voices on YouTube defending Jesus as who he really is, or defending the loving spiritual creator that he was at one with, a child of. And the heavenly spiritual world is only love. Jesus is only love. The spiritual loving creator of Jesus is only love. There's only one way to get into heaven. You have to be only love. That means you've got to be a pacifist Christian, otherwise you can't enter. The first 312 years up until Emperor Constantine, every Christian was a pacifist follower of Jesus of Nazareth. They didn't care if their bodies of flesh were thrown to the lions in the Roman Colosseum, or they were murdered or crucified by the Jews, killed them, the Romans killed them. They were persecuted and murdered. Jesus said, don't worry, you've got a spiritual body with you as well. Don't be like them. Don't do that to them. They don't know what they're doing. There's life after death, and they're going to reap what they sow. They've hurt you and caused you great suffering and death. That's what they'll get after they die. Whereas you, who did not hurt them, but prayed for them and forgave them, you'll be in a much more beautiful world. No more suffering for you. I believe that. I really do. Buddha taught it, Nirvana. Jesus taught it, heaven. It's there, it's real, but it's a different dimension. So, love your way to heaven or hate your way to hell. The choice is yours. Choose the first one. They say it's much better there. Bye.